Well, hey, everybody, welcome to the Seeing Ability podcast, where we're having a conversation with people with disabilities. And as a part of that, we're going to be talking to parents often that raise them and a lot of people that support this community, whether it's folks working with nonprofits, in healthcare, or in education. Now, we know you've got a lot of choices when it comes to your valuable time. So first of all, I'm your host, Jim Littlefield Dalmaris, and I want to appreciate you tuning in today and spending time with us. And I think you're going to be glad you did, because we've got two guests that have two unique perspectives into this world. Some of you will recognize my one guest, Miss Sonia Johnson. She was actually my first guest on episode number 1, and now we're episode number 12. And she sees this world from the perspective of leading a nonprofit working in this field. And then my second guest, Theron Mackey, is a business owner and an entrepreneur who kind of sees this world from what it's like to partner with a program that's impacting this community. So first of all, I'm super excited to have you guys. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. So as folks who listen know, before we delve into the world of disability, I always like to get to know our guests just a little bit on a personal level. So this is kind of a speed round. I'll ask each of you real quickly what we call the Fast Four. Now, the Fast Four is brought to you by our friends at Reliable Tech Help. So for all your tech needs, that's tech with a K, call Reliable Tech Help at 502-797-7399. Here's question number 1 for each of you. What is a good book that you've read lately? Ladies first, Sonia.
I pulled back out an oldie, and that was Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Okay. Theron, how about you?
I went more tech. I went back and like Sonia, I went to an oldie, but I just went with the 7 Habits of Effective People.
Well, you guys are setting the bar high here. I love it. Okay. What about the world of sports? What's a favorite sport that you either watch or play? Theron, we'll go you this time.
Definitely basketball, but I really like football coming into football season. I spent some time
Fantastic.
in high school and in high school and playing football and basketball. So both,
Okay,
both.
good. Sonia, how about you?
I'd say I had a house full of athletes. All 4 of my kids were so involved in sports, but I really like Taekwondo and
Okay,
martial arts.
Taekwondo. I love it. So next up, what about a famous person from the past? If you could meet one famous person from the past, maybe sit down to dinner with them, who would that be, Sonia?
It's so hard because it's between Jesus and Martin Luther King. Because I have questions for those two.
Okay, we'll let you do two. How's that?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Theron, how about you?
Definitely Martin Luther King. I would love to hear his perspective on during his time and where we are today, and if it meets his standard, how we've progressed.
Wow, that's a great way to look at it. So last but certainly not least, what is your favorite sweet treat?
That's easy for me. Anything chocolate.
Okay. Theron?
Banana pudding for me. Oh man, I get
Ooh,
enough
I like
right
that.
on
Okay,
the
so
banana.
I'm kind of thinking maybe tonight, chocolate, tomorrow, banana pudding. I like it.
Hey,
All right. So, Sonia, welcome back. Like I said, it's nostalgic for me because you were guest number 1. And folks who are new to the podcast maybe didn't get to hear that. First of all, if you haven't checked out episode 1, do so because you kind of get to know Sonia at a deep level. But tell those folks who are unfamiliar with Options for Individuals, a nonprofit based here in our market in Louisville, Kentucky, who you guys are, what you do, and maybe as part of that, what kind of drew you to this work as their leader?
Yeah, definitely. We are all about empowerment for individuals with disabilities and just knocking down barriers of isolation, knocking down barriers that keep them from being valued members of the community. And that is whatever looks like to them as that what we call, quote, good life. We know what the good life is because we don't have those barriers. But, sometimes people need help. And I do believe it does take a community to actually put their arms around each other, all of us, for us to live our best lives. So this is what we do. And whatever resource building we need to do, whatever skill building we need to do, we're going to find out what it is. And we find out by doing a life plan with what somebody wants in their life, whatever it looks like, we make it happen. We just explore the possibility.
I think you told me you had a corporate life before this. What really
Yes.
got you interested in working in the nonprofit field?
Well, I had no idea that was going to be my call. I was working in the for-profit arena and I just knew there was something else I was missing. I felt like something was missing in my life. And it was that give back part of the life and that impact. I wanted to make an impact. I needed to make a difference. I needed that for myself. And it was really a calling for me to do that. And what started it for me is just I had sold my commercial cleaning franchise, and I just had to be busy because I'm a hyper child. And so I found a very small little nonprofit. They just needed someone to help in the office, and I thought, oh, okay, I can do that. Just go home, right? But no, a young man came up to me, and it was so cool how everybody introduced themselves to me, and I was a new person on the block, and they wanted to know who I was. He came up to me in his wheelchair, and he looks at me, he looked at my Bible, because I always read Bible at lunchtime, and he's like, I know how Jesus felt. And I was like, what do you mean by that? You knew how Jesus felt, And he said, well, the people that loved him tried to kill him. He said, my uncle called me an abomination. And every time he got a chance, when he watched me, he tried to drown me in the bathtub. Mm. And I was appalled. Here we are in the 1990s. No one should have a life like this. No one. And at that moment, I thought, you know what? I got to find out more about these people I'm serving here that are coming in and out every day. So I started reading the life stories and documentation and where people came from, trauma, the things that people have been through, the isolation, the things are happening for these beautiful people that I see smiling every day, and working so hard, to obtain skills. And, I decided they needed a champion. So wow. I made myself learn how I could help, how I could be a voice and be that champion.
Such a powerful story. Thank you for sharing that. I bet you on a rough day that story reminds you and grounds you of why you're in this fight.
Yes, it does.
That's fantastic. So this good-looking gentleman we've got with us today, Theron, tell us a little bit about how you guys met and how this whole partnership evolved. Either one of you. How did you guys meet?
Oh, I'm sorry. You want to go ahead? I had a little bit of a delay.
So how did you guys meet and how did this partnership get involved? Let's start with Sonia. Tell us a little bit about the origin of it.
Well, the lifeblood of a nonprofit is that you got a network. And it's also equally important for someone that's connected with people with disabilities, because part of making that inclusion part happen, you got to get out there and network and connect with people, right? That are really active in the community to make this happen for these individuals. And so I joined a wonderful network of referral partners and business partners called BNI International. And that has been one of the best things that I've done for options as a whole, because it is taking me to a place where I can meet other business individuals and just people that are looking to excel and succeed and create an environment of success for everybody's business. It's part of it. So I met Theron at one of our visitors' day that we have at the end of every month. And I just drove him crazy because I heard about all the connections he had in the resource. And he talked about people, how he connected with people. And I thought, oh my goodness, he's just a connector, and I said, we need that. So, I invited him over, he came over, and immediately, he sat down and connected with the people there. It was a beautiful thing to watch. And not only did he connect, he started thinking outside the box is, how can I help you guys? What can I do? How can I collaborate and be part of what you're doing?
Yeah, so let's talk about that first impression and how you got hooked, Theron, and then what it was that made you want to get more involved, kind of what it was that got you hooked on the place, and tell us about the origins of this program you're doing, this partnership.
So, just as said, it was, almost a match made in.
So Theron, when you first met the folks from Options for Individuals, tell us a little bit about what got you hooked and about this program you came up with as a partnership.
Yeah, meeting Sonia, Miss Sonia, as she mentioned, her passion for what she does with the Options team is, just unspoken commitment. And just visiting their facility the first time, getting a chance to meet some of the patients and her team, I was sold that I wanted to be part of it in some kind of way. And then as we started to brainstorm on what her needs were, it just really triggered so many possibilities of working together and developing some vocational training. Because what we do and what my company is all about is workforce development and making sure that everyone is included in our drive to have a better economy, in our drive to improve the workforce. And I saw all sorts of potential with Sonia and her team that I felt could be utilized. And we wanted to be a part of getting those guys the skills and some training and, try to get them into the workforce in some way, somehow. So it was really a no-brainer for me to do what we could to help develop whatever we could to help. And it's been a great partnership so far.
That's fantastic. So I'm going to ask her a little bit about the clients, but before I do, there's two people that always benefit from a program like this. It's the individuals that are getting these extra skills. How has it changed you? What was it like for you to be around them? What have you noticed about yourself being around these individuals more?
Well, you develop a compassion, and just a love for people in general, a real appreciation for a person for who they are, not necessarily their appearance or the way they sound, but just who they genuinely are. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. We all have a heart. And Sonia's, her team is some of the most loving clients and patients that you'll ever meet. And they greet you at the door and they want to know how your day was. And I thought that was really spoke volumes to me for someone to ask me how my day was going and genuinely mean it, right? And I don't think there was an answer I could have gave them that would have disappointed them. They just genuinely wanted to know, and they wanted to be part of anything that was bothering me. They wanted to be part of the solution. So they stole my heart walking in, and I really wanted to do whatever I could to be part of that team. And I frequent, going over, I know several of them by name. And I ask Miss Sonia all the time, well, how is this person doing? And how is this person doing? Because they almost force you to bond in a relationship with them just because they have that type of personality and lovingness about themselves.
It's amazing to think what the world would be like if every work environment were like that, right? If that was the norm that you experienced.
Absolutely.
So, Sonia, we keep talking about the program. I want to ask you two things. For listeners, what is the actual project your folks are working on? Tell us a little bit about that so they can kind of picture it. And then tell us about how it's impacted them. What have you seen in their development by being part of this program with Theron and his company?
Yeah, it is in-house vocational skills training. They are actually working and doing the work that would happen at Theron's workplace. And he's actually allowed the staff to come in to train them, to be with them, and take them at whatever their skill level is and incorporate to help them learn that and be able to become proficient in it. I've seen such a pride and it has just changed their thinking of their possibilities, and they see themselves differently. They see themselves as, I can do this, I can work,
Yeah.
and I have two individuals that they're brothers who have come to us, and they, when they first came, well, they didn't even want to drive in a car. They didn't want to go into a car. They did not want to go into the community. They did not want to do anything. We've got several people that going out into the community is a huge stimulus issue for them right now. So to be able to bring that training in house, for them to learn that, to then take it out into the community is huge. To have the opportunity to be able to learn in their safe space, and then as they become proficient and comfortable with it, to be able to come out of that in that. And Theron has offered, for the ones that show a real aptitude and a want to do it, then the next thing we need to think about is how do they get employed?
Yeah.
So we're not just stopping there. And I have seen just the confidence level of the individuals, because before, some of these individuals, you guys, I remember, they have not had exposure to job training and work, so they really didn't have a concept or know what that was. So if you ask them, would you like to get a job? Would you like to work? They're like, I don't know. I don't even know what that is. They had no concept for it. Now they get it. Now they have a concept and they know and they feel good and confident that I can do this. Yeah, I can work. I can learn this. So it's been a huge, huge goal setter for many
And for
of them.
folks that aren't familiar, like what setting we're talking about, tell us about the actual work they're doing. Like they're doing, I know you sent me a picture, talked a little bit about
Yes.
toasters, right?
Yeah, there's toasters, coffee makers, and a hand mixer, the three items that they're working with right now. They Theron has a huge contract with GE, which is wonderful for us. And he's willing to collaborate with us on that. So when items come back that someone has returned, and what they're doing is they're the initial first line of testing where they have a whole list that they go through of testing them, that Theron and his staff has made a wonderful training resource for this so they can learn it on whatever level they are. And they go through this list and they test, they clean, they even put it in the computer and create tags for when it goes back to the plant to say, yes, this is a pass, or no, this is a fail. And this is why this one isn't working. It has no power. It has, it's not working. It's doing this. And, you should just see that they take a very huge pride and responsibility in what they're doing, because they're like, oh, this is going to go back to someone to probably purchase. And the staff really needs to know, that we check through this. And they help each other too. They get on each other. You didn't turn that on, or you didn't plug that in. And I have one gentleman that he's shown a huge aptitude on it. He's made himself like the supervisor of the room, and he
Wow.
helps everybody. And Theron knows what I'm talking about. That's how he's
Oh
laughing.
yeah.
And he has just blossomed with this. We had no idea he was going to take it to this level until we tried it. And so it's a beautiful thing to watch. Beautiful.
It's kind of a quality control process they're working.
Yes, it is.
That's fantastic. And unfortunately, obviously, with the word disability, sometimes the world tends to think of what people can't do instead of focusing on what they can do.
Absolutely.
Have you seen this give an opportunity for certain skills to really flourish with different individuals?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Because, as you know, in work, there's a task that you're given, and there's an expected success rate your boss has for that task. And it's very cool how they have taken that on and personally and have said, we're going to make sure this is done correctly and right. And, that is huge, even just getting that learning. I mean, there's people and jobs now, that don't have that integral step in it to think about. And that's part of the education to the workforce in the community and businesses in the community, is how enriching, how skilled, they're what excellent employees people are missing,
Yes.
and not, pushing the employment for individuals with disabilities, and then taking that, they're missing out. They're missing out on having wonderfully good employees.
And what I'm
Absolutely.
hearing is that sense of ownership and pride that we would ideally hope exists in all employees, but we know in the real world doesn't always. It sounds like your population, like they care a lot about getting it right.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And part of, the advocacy training that we do there for everybody too, as far as being an advocate for yourself and your life. And they all realize that, we are representing not only options, we're representing our population. You know, this needs to be good because we want people to realize,
Yeah.
how much we can give back to,
Wow. So,
so
so you're saying they kind of see themselves as ambassadors for the community.
pioneers, yes, they do. And this
Wow.
is the first time that I think we are the first day training provider that has kind of taken this on and had someone like Theron actually give us the opportunity and the resources to do this.
Well, and as
Yeah.
we were preparing for this episode, I was kind of thinking of three particular audiences, either listening or the folks listening obviously know people in these audiences. And the first was other nonprofits around the country that may have programs or designs, goals, ambitions to have programs like this. The second was folks like Theron, entrepreneurs, business owners out there you do hear from people in today's economy, their biggest challenge is staffing and finding good people. And then the third audience was that parent listening, or that person who's a therapist, works with parents, who has that teenager, that young adult who's kind of transitioning from school to work. What do you, either one of you, this is a question for both of you, what do either one of you think are the takeaways from your experience that you'd like those people to be thinking about, those parents, those other business owners, and those other nonprofit staff? Theron, let's start with you. If you could speak to a group of business owners, what do you think are the takeaways?
Yeah, I think the takeaway is that, the proof of concept of, these individuals definitely should not be excluded from your workforce development and planning. They can participate, they can be productive, they can be inclusive to a team that's set to drive, goals to help the organization. We have to, just as with any employee we bring into our workforce, we have to provide the training and the skills and, to the point of where they can perform. But there is definitely a place within any workforce. And, the proof of concept with this vocational program with Sonia, an option for individual, is I wanted to make sure that her team could feel as if they could be successful and as confident as any employee that I added into my organization, regardless of the background that they came from. And, as Sonia had mentioned, there's several that as we go through and we look at how this vocational program has matured, that I honestly feel could go in and work within a factory, work within a warehouse, work within an organization that wants to, provide the patients, the training, and the level of commitment to, these individuals being successful. I honestly feel like they could, go out and, earn a living just as you and I, doing the jobs that you and I do and sit beside us in some regards.
Fantastic. And Sonia, I'm sure that message is like welcome medicine for people listening who are parents of teenagers, young adults. What would be your advice to those parents about the workforce possibilities for their children?
Number one, and I always say this, is the expectation. Do not, the sky's the limit. I know everybody wants everyone to be safe, and you're thinking about all these different obstacles, but educate yourself on the company, what they represent, what their culture is, and be involved as a parent. Look ahead to that. Find providers that are willing to be out of the box and meet your child at whatever skill level they are and make that happen. There is work to do. There's so much work to do in the community. There is something for everyone to do. But yes, a lot of times you might need to be a little more creative, and you might have to do a lot more education to the business. Be willing to have that conversation with them, because it's not that they don't want to. They've never had that conversation. So they've never even thought that way before. So that's education that we can do, because these are our people. We work with them every day. We know, we know them. Use that to network for them and to communicate and to educate.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Now, I'm going to put both of you on the spot. If we've got people listening who are other business owners or other parents or nonprofits, and they want to say, hey, I'd like to talk to those folks and pick their brain, can I put them in contact with both of you?
Oh, definitely. Love that.
I would love that as well. Okay, so before we talk a little bit about the work of options and kind of some stuff you've got coming up, I know you told me you said Theron's a well-connected guy, and you said he's actually led you to another program. Sonia, can you tell us briefly about that? It's a partnership with the University of Louisville here in Kentucky.
Absolutely. It's the University of Louisville Athletic Department, and these young people need internships, right? And they can choose from any business they want, but Theron has now let them think outside the box. Have you thought about a nonprofit? I'm sure he's had that talk, and a lot have been choosing us We had two wonderful football players come in, and their whole mind has just exploded with possibilities now for our individuals. I mean, they're buddies, they're doing, they're going out to their Special Olympics games, all sorts of things, things I hadn't thought of, and connecting, with our individuals. And it's wonderful. And they're learning so much at the same time. And our people are learning how to connect with other community leaders too, and noticing, oh, well, it's not such a thing. They're not as different as we are, we can all do this and work it together. But it's been a beautiful connection. And that's another place where education has come in and actually expanded the horizons of both these individuals looking for the internship and also the people we serve. That's what you want. That's how you get connected.
Well, Theron hit the nail on the head earlier when he said, once you hang around Sonia and the people and the work she does, you kind of fall in love with it and you want to get involved. So we might have listeners that are thinking, hey, I like these people. What can I do to help them? Tell us about anything you've got coming up with your nonprofit where maybe folks could lend a hand, and how do they get a hold of you? Where do they find you?
Oh, definitely. We've got a annual event coming up. That's our award ceremony, when actually, we're all goal setters. And when we've got people that just knock it out of the park for the year, they actually get awards at our award ceremony. We make it fun. It's a costume gala this year. It's October 28th, and it's at an amusement park in Louisville. Well, not really amusement, but it's a fun zone called the Main Event. And it's very cool. We're going to have dinner, costume contest, and this place has laser tag, bungee jumping, all that stuff, bowling in it, and all that comes with a ticket. But as with everything, it takes money to run, it takes money to land to make it happen. So if you would like to sponsor us or give a donation, you can go to our website, which is optionsforindividuals.org, gladly make a donation there, or you can also buy tickets and attend, because we need to sell tickets. So either or will help us. And it's just optionsforindividuals.org, or you can go directly to my email and tag me on my email. My email link is on the website. It's sjohnson, optionsforindividuals.org.
Fantastic. And if you're listening and you make a donation, please mention that you heard about them through the Seeing Ability podcast. One of my goals is that we can motivate our listeners, maybe who want to do good, but they don't know where to focus that philanthropy, to some of the nonprofits that we highlight. And then we can say, hey, collectively as a community, we raise this much money for charity. So, I'm a former nonprofit person myself. Giving is always close to my heart. So hopefully that'll inspire people to do that. So I always like to wrap up, and thank you guys for being here today, my episodes, with kind of just overall big picture. If you guys were brought in, either one of you, Sonia, you've been in the trenches for years. Theron, you're kind of newer to this whole community, but you've had a wonderful insight. Let's put you both on the podium. You're speaking to young parents, and you want to give them two pieces of advice on how to help their child thrive. Sonia, you're the veteran, so we'll start with the rookie. Theron, tell us two things you'd advise, given your current perspective that you've gained through this partnership.
I think, one is don't allow yourself to be treated different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have a value, regardless of the way anyone looks at you, the way they talk to you. Self-respect must be maintained, and and then just never feeling as if you can't succeed at whatever you put yourself on the path to do, and force them to tell you no. And then when they do tell you no, give them a reason not to say it again to you, because you are just as deserving as anyone else in this world, and you deserve to have all the opportunities that's before you.
Spoken like a person whose job is to lift people up and give them possibilities, right?
Absolutely. That's what we're all about.
Comes with the territory. Man, I love that. So Sonia, what about you? Two pieces of advice.
Start early. Don't wait till the school system arena is over. Start early, looking for and thinking about your life. What's next? What's next for me? And then realize the sky is the limit. Take time and put people around you and network with people who want to see you succeed. Yes. That's going to help you grow. And then create a plan. Create a plan. It doesn't matter. You might have to change it. You might think, oh, I don't do this, or it's okay. This is life. It's viral, and your life can be great. So Don't take no for an answer. Just say, okay, maybe I got to do this a little differently. And then educate yourself, but surround yourself with a community of people that are there and can help you through it. Education is key, creating that network of success and support early before the school system time is over, and really use that transition time to actually think about what is my transition going to look like and what do I want for my transition for myself or for my child.
Fantastic. Well, again, thank you both for being here today. For our listeners, if you found value out of today's episode, and I can't imagine how you didn't, we would love for you to help us get this podcast into the ears of other people that really could benefit from it. So if you haven't so far, go to our Facebook page, like the page, follow the page and the podcast. Also, leave us a comment. I'd love to know, what did you like the most about today's episode? I'm sure our guests would like to know. Leave us a comment, share that post with others that you know, and then please think about that business owner that parent who has that young adult and they're kind of thinking what's going to happen after school, or that other nonprofit that maybe wants to start these kind of partnerships, and share this episode. We have a very small, I'm going to say non-existent ad budget here at Seeing Ability. So we're relying on you guys who really relate to this message to help us promote it. So we'd love to hear from you, your feedback. Some of you may have guests that you think would love to share their story. I would love you to contact me and reach out. So until next time, thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for having us.